Do, 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 do. All right, everybody, it's JJ Conway. I'm so excited to be with you today. It is our first Thursday of the what is this? Why is there a banana in my broadcast? Where did this
banana? Banana.
What are you doing here?
Banana.
Well, it's about to be bananas today because we're going to talk about some stuff that's truly ridiculous. We're going to talk about some crazy stuff. What would you do if you were walking in the mall and a stranger held their phone up to yours and said, I just stole $100? What would you do? What would you do if you go home for a visit and discover that your mom has opened 8 credit cards? Not 6, not 7, but 8 credit cards in your name and is overdrawn on all of them. What would you do? What about you just signed a lease and immediately your landlord says, you got to repair these items or we're going to evict you in a week? What do you do? What do you do? Well, we're going to talk about all of those tonight. So grab a friend and drop some questions in the chat. I'll stay till the last question is answered. We're also going to talk about support forum fraud today. We're going to be talking about support forum fraud, where narcissists are running these support forums, some of them acting very empathetic and thinking that they really truly care about you, but only using the support forum as an opportunity to fuel their ego. And somehow you end up giving even more abuse from these sites. And so we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about how you can tell if you're in a support forum that's really not going to support you in the long run and more. All right. I want to welcome you to Ladies of Wealth. I am so excited to have our fireside chat. It's our first Thursday of the month. And before I get into our topics tonight, I do want to talk to you about our class schedule in case you're new to me, or if you're listening to me on the Ladies of Wealth podcast and you, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by the banana over here. If you're listening on the podcast, you want to go out to YouTube and you want to check out this weird banana behind me. I don't know why he's here or what he's doing, but here he is. But if you, so anyway, let me say that, okay? Shh. If you're listening as part of the Ladies of Wealth podcast, I encourage you to go out to YouTube so you can see the funny banana behind me. Also, if you are new to me and my body of work, we do our live recordings on Thursday nights, and we have different topics for each Thursday. Every first Thursday is our fireside chat. Wow, I cannot get my words out again. I think I'm just too distracted by the banana behind me. But every Thursday is our fireside chat where we answer your questions with what I like to think is style and grace. Every second Thursday is our empowered entrepreneur. Nope, that's the fourth Thursdays. Second Thursdays is your 7-figure business building. How do you create additional streams of income? Third Thursdays is real estate. And fourth Thursdays is your empowered entrepreneur. How to become the person that has what you want to have out of life. And so today is our fireside chat. We've got some crazy questions for you today. Crazy questions, crazier than a banana suit wearing a sun visor. But first, it is a domestic violence survivor month. It's actually a whole bunch of different months all rolled in together. I think it's also suicide awareness month, domestic violence. I think child abuse is in April, but there's 3 of them because it's the teal, the purple, and the blue. And I don't remember what they all are, but I know that for me, when we very first scoot over. Nope, it's not there. I don't know where it is. For the very first anthology that I ever published was the Healing My Sisters anthology. And for a couple years, we did that conference and that anthology to raise funds for various local domestic violence groups. And so we did the conference, the Healing My Sisters conference and retreat in May. And then the stories from that conference were published in a book that released in October. And the funds raised from the sale of that book every year, 100% of the proceeds goes to the organizations that support survivors thrivers who are overcoming domestic violence. And so you can still find that. You can still find, I think the first one is still up. I don't think the rest of them are up, but the first one is still up on Amazon because it was the best one. And so you can still find that on Amazon, and I encourage you to go out there and support that. Again, 100% of the proceeds goes to support organizations who support those who are trying to make a change in their life and overcome domestic violence. All right. And so speaking of domestic violence and supporting those, we are going to start off with, it's not quite a reading. It's going to be like a read and respond from the website narcsite.com. It's called Support Forum Fraud. Now, you might recognize the name narcsite.com because I have interviewed back in May, Mental Health Month, we interviewed H.G. Tudor, who runs that website. He is a narcissist and psychopath diagnosed, and he, for various reasons that he talks about in the interview, runs a website that empowers people to understand what narcissists are doing, what signs to look for, and how to escape the grasp. And I find it interesting that somebody who is a narcissist himself is educating, but I think it's because he looks at himself as a step above your average narcissist. And you'll understand why he calls himself the ultra if you go to his website. But everybody else out there in this world, there's so many people out there that are using the term narcissist and not really being accurate about what's going on. So I have personally found his website to be incredibly well written and well, I know the geeky word is taxonomy, like his structure for how to teach and the concepts and the way he arranges them, really quite possibly the most brilliant person I've ever yet, until I interview you, no, quite possibly the most brilliant person I've ever interviewed on this forum. And so I encourage you to go out there. And somebody made a comment on some of the books on Amazon that a lot of his writing is not very, he needs an editor. I think his writing, I think he does have an editor now, because you definitely don't see as many typos as you did in the past. But I know I've been like that myself. You're trying to get a lot of stuff out. And so, but yeah, I would encourage you to go to the site. There's a lot of really good concepts out there. However, please don't misunderstand the fact that he is a narcissist. And there are so many people on that website that make innuendo and are trying to get him to like be there, be his next girlfriend or something. Like, you got to be really careful about that. The Bible tells us to know them who labor among us. And that's not just true in ministry. You need to know who it is you're entangling with in the secular world as well. But I thought his content was worth sharing with the ladies of wealth. And that's why not only did I interview him in May, but we recently interviewed him again about the financial impact of being entangled with a narcissist. That episode is being edited and will be released quite soon. One thing that I found really strange about interviewing H.G. Tudor is, y'all know my bubbly personality. I'm just going and having fun. But even though I've probably prepared more for those interviews by researching him and researching his background and buying all these different things that he writes on his website about himself and how he supports people, like, I did my research, y'all. I came with my receipts in hand. But yet when you watch those interviews, they are probably the most stilted I am. Probably the most reserved and nervous I am. And so I always thought that was funny. Like, with the last one, I wanted to just be my bubbly self. I just couldn't do it. I don't know why. One of y'all who is a psychologist, or, I'm not a counselor. I don't play one on TV. But I found it very interesting that, I found it very interesting. I'm still getting distracted by the banana here. I found it very interesting that my normal bubbly personality, the fun and the energy that I have when I'm interviewing somebody, I just didn't walk in that interview energy the 2 times that I have interviewed Mr. Tudor. And so I know some of it's because you can't see him. He keeps his identity anonymous. But I know also some of it's just the nature of the subject matter and the level of, I don't know how to say that correctly. I should have thought this through, but I didn't. That's part of that emotional thing. I'm enjoying being, I'm enjoying being older and having that whole, I really don't care if you see me cry anymore, as opposed to all those years in the military where I had to hold all my emotions in. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things where you interview people at a certain level, but I was also, I was nervous talking to Les Brown. I was nervous talking with Dr. George Fraser, nervous talking to Dr. Boyce Watkins, but all of them had a way of just putting me at ease. And I got a sense that this guest did not want to put me at ease. All right, so what's up? Oh, okay. So I am going to say goodnight to our banana friend.
6-7 banana.
And we're going to go ahead and let him go get some rest so that he can have a good day at school tomorrow. And we're going to talk about support forum fraud. And this comes from narcsite.com. You can search it by the support forum fraud. So we're not talking about fraud in the support forums. We're talking about the big fraud that runs your favorite support forum and how you can tell if they really are a fraud and they're really walking in narcissistic energy. Good night, banana.
I'm a banana.
I need you to
have a good day.
Yes.
I'm about to have a good day.
Uh-huh.
No matter what they say.
Mm-hmm.
Sun is shining down on me. Birds are singing and praise. I'm
Gonna have a good day.
In every single way.
I wish you would come. If you're gonna sing, come sing on camera.
Goes me to sleep, so it's a good day.
Well, y'all can't see that. Okay, stop the fake snoring. All right. Well, you know what? One of these days we're gonna get him comfortable enough where he'll come sing for y'all because he has an amazing voice.
Oh, wait.
No, what? No. What?
You
What do you
said
mean?
you want me to sing.
But you're not singing.
I am.
You're.
I'm about to have a good day in every single way.
Okay, while he's doing that, you know what's interesting? I try when he was in kindergarten. Was it first grade? Was it first grade when you got into to GT? Do you remember?
Yes,
Okay, so they call us in, and he had gotten in trouble. You've got that on backwards, by the way. Is that on purpose? They call us in to go talk to the teacher and the principal, and it's this big old meeting, and I'm like freaking out because he's gotten in trouble. Hey, I'm losing viewers here. You got to hurry up. Okay.
It's a good day.
I'll tell you that story later.
Everything I do, man, if it hesitate. Wait. I'm about to have a good day in every single way. Sun is shining down on me, birds are singing praise. I'm about to have a good day in every single way. God who made the universe knows me back my name, so it's a good day. And now he throws me to sleep. Bye-bye.
Okay. Good night, banana.
Good night.
All right. So, all right. So now we're going to talk about support forum fraud. And again, this I've said it for those of you who've been on for a little bit. I've said and started a couple times, mainly because I kind of wanted to extract this for the author, because like if I'm going to use his work, I kind of want to give him credit where credit is due, right? And so I'm going to say it a third time, and hopefully I can get through it without a whole lot of ums and ahs. But just even talking about it makes me really nervous. And so, as I was saying earlier, it actually gets me really nervous to interview. I'm nervous even I don't even. You know what the Bible says? The Bible says that all things are lawful, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful, but I will not be brought under the power of any. And I don't know what this is, but we're going to rebuke it in Jesus' name, and we're going to roll on. Okay. You know, I don't plan on interviewing Mr. Tudor a third time, but if I do, I'm going to make sure that I am my normal bubbly self, because I don't like it when somebody has that kind of effect on me. Then I know I'm a good interviewer. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people don't know this or that they're good with. Some people don't know that they have a talent. My son and I, we sat down one time. We were trying to go to bed, and and he, stop interrupting me, man. And he, oh goodness, I'm gonna start over. So my son and I were laying down. I was getting him to bed, and we were saying good things about him because he had a really rough day that day. And so I said, okay, name 10 things that you're really good at. He's like, oh, there's not 10 things that I'm good at. I'm like, I can name 10 right off the bat. And so I went boom, 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 and I got 10 real quick like that. And then the next thing you know, he's like, well, I'm also this, and I'm also this. And so then I kept going, and I kept going, and we got all my fingers and all his fingers, and then we took his fingers down and my fingers down. And by time we went to bed, y'all, by time he finally fell asleep, we had come up with 40 things that he was good at. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I never had anybody in my upbringing when I was growing up sit down with me and tell me even one thing I was good at. Well, okay, that's not really so true, because my family did tell me I was good at schoolwork. I was good at getting straight A's, but it was always kind of said in a, she's so smart, she's so, book smart, but has no common sense. That's how it was to me. And so sometimes we're not reared in an environment that tells us what we're good at, and we may not be able to acknowledge sometimes what we're good at. And so one thing I know I'm good at is I'm good at interviewing people. I was really quite surprised when I found it out. I'm like, man, I need to lose some weight and go on one of them news shows, because I'm really good at interviewing people. But somehow when I interviewed this particular author, whose article we're going to look at today, I was just so nervous, even though I had done all kinds of homework, researched him, the things that he's going for, the things he's written about himself in his childhood. I mean, I even paid good money to research this man. And then I got into the interviews, both of them. Now you'll see the second one in a couple weeks. Both of them, I'm like, asking my questions, just very stilted, and I'm like, oh, time out for that. We cannot allow anything to come in and disrupt our energy like that. And if it happens once, it happens once. If it happens twice, that's a coincidence. But if it happens 3 times, now we on a trend, and you have to do something about that trend. Okay, so in any event, we're going to look at this article about support form fraud, and then we're going to talk about what to do if you've got some family member running up credit in your name, what to do about this thing that's going around where people are walking down the mall, or they're sitting in their cars and somebody's holding a phone by them and saying they stole money. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk also about what to do. You just signed a lease and now your landlord's like, you got to repair all this stuff, or we're evicting you. We're going to talk about all of that in just a little bit. But because it is Domestic Violence Survivor Month, we're going to take a look at this support form fraud. Okay. And so I'm gonna pull this up and just kind of read some of it to you. Okay. And so just bear with me on that. This, again, you can find this at narcsite.com. This was authored by one of our most popular guests, H.G. Tudor, and we interviewed him back in May. I encourage you to go listen to that interview, because it'll explain why somebody who is a diagnosed narcissist would run a website that teaches people what to look for and how to avoid other narcissists. Okay. And so you want to do that, and then we're going to have him back. I've already done the interview. We're just doing the edits now. And so you're going to want to come back for that at the end of this month. All right. But the support form fraud, this is a 2025-09-10 blog post. There are many online support forums that exist with regard to the issue of narcissism and narcissistic abuse. And he says that he has moved amongst the shadows of those blogs, Facebook sites, Twitter pages, things like that, absorbing and observing the behaviors that he's witnessed. There are some that provide information, others victims are able to, I'm paraphrasing a little bit what he said. Some are information, others are cathartic in their ability for the victims to vent and help them with their journey. There's others that assist people in healing from trauma. And what he says here in a lot of these is actually the narcissists, specifically what he calls the lesser and mid-range narcissists. And he talks about how they come into his blog and other groups, and they even form some of these groups. And he says the narcissist will gain some fuel by the interaction with people on the forum, but more specifically, they will look to befriend a fellow commenter or two and take their interaction off blog and onto private messaging, phone, Skype. That tells you how long ago this was written. Ultimately meeting in person. Okay. And this is interesting because he goes on to say the narcissist also operates on these support forums in a different capacity, that of moderator, administrator, or host. How does this manifest? First of all, if a grader operates such a forum, he or she will be open about the fact, confirm what they are, and explain much about the way we think and operate. These sites are extremely rare. Graders are very rare, and those which operate sites similar to mine are even rarer. However, those that do exist make it clear what the site is and who is operating it. And so I do want to just quickly kind of explain his taxonomy here. In his describing of various types of narcissists, it's almost like a hierarchy, or not hierarchy, but a level of self-awareness. And so the lesser, what he calls the lesser narcissist, is someone who's not even trying to pretend that they're not the jerky people they are. Okay. Then you have what he calls the mid-range, and they're characterized by people who have a huge public persona, but behind closed doors, they act completely different. And then he has the category of the grader, which is a narcissist that understands what they're doing and is usually more strategic. And it is his supposition that the mid-range and the lesser narcissists don't actually know that they are narcissists, but that the graders, and he is, as he has ascended to call himself, the ultra, are people who do understand what they are doing to other people. But the mid-rangers have this facade, but they don't even realize it. And the lessers don't have a facade, but they are operating according to the prime aims of narcissism and don't even realize it. Okay. And he's saying here that those who are greater, who run those kind of groups, know what they're doing, and they tell you what they're doing. Then he says, secondly, a lesser would not operate such a forum. He or she has no idea what he or she is, and being utterly devoid of sympathy, including cognitive empathy, it would never occur to the lesser to devise such a site. They have no interest in appearing as a saintly figure, and they have no desire to listen to the woes of others. Oh, well, we know people like that, don't we? The lesser will frequent the forums but will not run them. Instead, they prefer to utilize someone else's work to enable them to boast about their own supposed encounters with a narcissist, and then take center stage as they brag about their lifestyle, attack other commenters, and do so with an utter lack of awareness as to their behavior, of course, what they are. So now that's interesting, because you know who all these online comment wars are usually flared up by. We'll just leave that right there. He goes on to say, thirdly, it is the mid-ranger who poses the problem with regard to the creation and running of these forums. Why the mid-ranger? Again, he or she does not know what he or she is, but these sites appeal to them because, A, they're able to engage in their facade management. The mid-range narcissist genuinely believes that he or she is a good person, a decent person, an empathetic person. It is other people who are horrible, abusive narcissists, not them. This site gives them an excellent vehicle to sound out about their own perceived mistreatment. Ooh, I see so much of the people around me growing up in what he describes here. The mid-ranger loves a good pity party, compassion conference, or sympathy symposium. And those that interact with these people buy into this. It enables them to continue a campaign against those mid-range narcissists perceived as the abuser. Thus, the girlfriend, the parents, the boss, that once upon a time best friend, all find themselves routinely smeared, and the validation that site's readers provides to the mid-range narcissist only goes to consolidate in their minds that they are a good person and they truly are the victim. The mid-ranger is the narcissist who you will find operating these forums, or fora if you prefer. Of course, not all the online support forums are operated by our kind. By that he means narcissists. Far from it, but there is a noticeable presence. And he says that a lot of his readers express their concerns and suspicions about these sites. And so what I'm going to share with you today are some signs that he says for people to recognize it. He says that it'd be difficult for people to recognize because even though they're going to have some familiarity naturally with the idea of narcissism, of course, that's why they're at a narcissist abuse forum, it's likely that their skills have not yet become attuned to recognizing these narcissists, and certainly not this particular wolf in sheep's clothing. So here he lists the indicators. Based on what I have observed at certain sites, you should be aware of the following. Invalidation. The subject of narcissism is both emotive and complex, and therefore people have various experiences, opinions, theories. Some may simply be incorrect. Some may be misunderstanding. However, some may be valid because that's the experience of the individual. The support forum fraud, we're going to call that the SFF. I don't know if I can really say that very easily. The support forum fraud, that's just as easy to say, will reject out of hand the experience of the reader or commenter if it disagrees with, is at odds with, or contradicts something that's stated by the support forum fraud. Okay? Rather than recognizing a difference of opinion, or politely explaining why the reader's view is mistaken, the support forum fraud will be dismissive. How many of you have been in a situation where you have poured your heart out, or you have tried to help somebody else out, and the person who's supposed to be in charge of this great group, there to help people move forward past their trauma, help them recover from these abusive relationships, is dismissive of your experiences and your opinions because they don't match theirs? Woo! That's hint number one, y'all. The next one, aggressive. If the reader holds their ground with the support forum fraud, then they will be treated in an aggressive fashion. I feel like my whole life has been running into these frauds, because what he's describing is usually what happens when I speak truth, right? That's why I'm so thankful the Lord gave me a platform. If you don't want to hear my truth, you can just roll on. You can keep on scrolling. You don't have to stop here. You don't have to download my podcast episode. There's plenty of other people that will. So go ahead and do what you got to do to take care of you. But here I am, y'all. But I have found this to be true. If the reader holds their ground with the support forum fraud, then they will be treated with an aggressive fashion. The reader is not insulting or provocative and merely states their view. They are treated to an aggressive response from the support forum fraud. This is the manifestation of the mid-range narcissist ignited fury. How dare you contradict me? How dare you think something different from me? Ooh, y'all need to go out to this narcsite.com and read this article in whole, because I am skipping around a few things, okay? They will be told that they know nothing, that they are being ridiculous, and that the support forum fraud knows far better. And y'all, this is the one that really gets me. Reminded that the support forum fraud operates the forum. So I don't like what you had to say. You contradicting what I have to say. You're threatening my control of my own group. I run this group. You can just roll on. Ooh, y'all, haven't you been in a situation like this? Now, if you are just joining us and you're wondering why I'm covering a more of a psychological topic, we're probably going to extract this and make it part of Mindset Monday for the podcast, because we really need to understand that these traumas and these hurts are instrumental in how we manage or don't manage our money. When we don't deal with the underlying trauma, there's this gaping hole inside of our hearts that's begging to be filled. And even some of us who call ourselves Christian and say we're saved and sanctified and filled with the Holy Spirit, and we've allowed the Lord to come in and shed his love abroad in our heart, sometimes we have not allowed the Lord to shed his love over all that trauma and over all that hurt. We may not even know that it's there. Oh my goodness, we don't even know it's there. But as we begin to get healed and as we begin to get comfortable and as the Lord begins to soothe the old wounds, now the deeper wounds come up to the surface. And before we even realize what's going on, click, click, click on Amazon. Shop, shop, shop over here. Swipe the card, go on the cruise, go on the vacation. It's an all-inclusive resort. I deserve this. I'm going to treat me. I'm going to love me like nobody else has ever loved me. And if they don't love me, I'm going to love myself and I deserve it. I'm entitled. I done worked all my life and done everything to please everybody else. And now it's time for me to live my best life. Living our best life. Yes, I want you to live your best life. I don't want you to live your best life swiping and making somebody else rich while you go into jail because you haven't processed the trauma of that narcissistic ex-boyfriend, that narcissistic mother, that narcissistic dad. It's time for us to move past all these things. And then, heaven forbid, you start trying to move past it, and then you end up in a support forum like this, and you're just trying to help people. Y'all, it's not just the support forums. A lot of us go into volunteering, and we get in that volunteer organization, and we know what we're doing, but the boss lady in charge does not want to hear our ideas because this is their show. Oh, y'all. Keep in mind what I'm talking about. When you see these things in an organization that you're in, I'm not going to tell you to leave it. I'm not going to tell you the Lord doesn't have you there for a reason. But I am going to say, guard your heart. And when you guard your heart, it'll help you guard your pocketbook. All right. So let's keep on with the list. So first we had, let me go back. First we had, I got to get back to it. I'm sorry. I'm scrolling. So I've got such a small window to scroll because I want to be able to say hi to everybody. Hi, how are you? So good to see that you're on today. So glad to see that you're on today. I hope your poetry book is doing well. Okay. All right, let me get back now. Now I've scrolled so far trying to find the other things that I can't find where I was. Okay, labeling. Okay, so we talked about aggression. We talked about being put in your place. Then the third one is labeling. The support forum fraud will label the reader as an abuse. Y'all, how many times in my life has somebody said, "Oh, you're a narcissist"? And I bought into it because I was like, well, I am kind of arrogant and I do kind of think I can do things. I mean, the fact that I can do things doesn't mean I shouldn't think that I can do everything. I tend to, some people are just different like that. Like me, I tend to err on the side I can do it. If the Lord gives me an idea, I already know I can do it, right? Because he wouldn't give me the idea if he doesn't put it in my hands to be able to do, or send the people who know how to do it, or send the people who got the money to do it, or send the people who've got the resources to do it. So if the Lord put it on my heart and he expects me to actually do it, then I know the resources are there. So I always walk in that confidence. I'm not confident. I'm not, what's the opposite of confidence? I'm not hesitant about that today. Oh, we're going to talk about that later, Dennis. So if you can't stay on to the end, then make sure you come back and watch the end, because I'm going to talk about that after I'm done with my lesson. Okay. Because great is the enemy of good and perfection is the enemy of good enough. All right. But you know what I'm saying? Do y'all know what I'm saying today? You have an inner confidence because you know you have done things. You know that you have done hard things. You've done great things. You've written books. You've spoken at these audiences. You've written reports. Like I've written reports for the president. I'm sorry. You cannot tell me I can't write. Now you could tell me I need an editor. I identify with that remark, but you can't tell me I can't write. I got 13 books published. I've written reports for the highest levels of our government. I'm sorry. You can't tell me that. You cannot tell me that. You can't tell me I'm not a good mom. I know I'm a good mom. I'm sorry if you don't think I'm a good mom. I'm sorry if I'm too strict for you. I'm strict in many areas because I have taken a vow, a call of living holy and righteous as a minister in the Church of the Living God International. But at the same time, I believe in playing hard and working hard. So me and my family, we have a good time. When we're on vacation, we have a good time. You don't have to sin to have a good time. We have a great time. And we do a lot of things. And I have exposed my children to all kinds of things so that when you're a little dusty girl, or they comes along and tries to sway them, they have already seen and heard and done enough things to know not to get entangled with all that foolishness. Ooh, that was not where I was planning on going today, but you know what? If the shoe fits, all right. So in my encouragement to you, if you know that you are good at some things and you know that you are a good-hearted person, when somebody comes up to you and tries to tell you that you are a narcissist or you are this or you are that, you really need to take that into prayer, or you need to consider where they're coming from. Because I have found in my life that most of the people accusing me of being a narcissist are themselves narcissists. And what they really mean by, you're such a narcissist, what they really mean by that is, we thought we could manipulate and control you because you've got a nice, friendly, trusting face, and we thought we could just pull one over on you, and you didn't buy what we wanted you to buy for us, and you didn't give us money, and you didn't give us the position we wanted. You said no, and we don't like you saying no because you're not supposed to say no. Anyway, yeah, I actually got fired from a job. I actually got fired from a job because the person who hired me thought I was going to be a pushover. Apparently, I just look like a pushover, and I'm generally a happy person. So, I'm smiling a lot. The funny thing is, I don't have a smiley resting face. I really don't. And but when I'm around people, I'm doing what I love, and I love accomplishing things. I love helping people change their lives. I love my jobs, taking care of the nation. People just thought I was so eager to please that I was going to do whatever they wanted. Yeah, I'm gonna do whatever you tell me to do, but not if it breaks the law, because I ain't trying to go to jail. And so you have to really consider that when people start telling you all these things about yourself, consider whether they're telling you that as a manipulative tactic, a manipulative tactic to get you to do what they want you to do. Okay, so the support forum fraud here will label the reader as an abuser or a narcissist. Is a rapid dose of projection designed to put down, invalidate, and insult the reader. The labeling also has a further effect. It acts as a call of arms to other readers to launch an attack against the helpless reader. And so the support forum fraud expects their readership is going to gang up on this narcissist and then tell them what they need and drum them from the forum. And many of my audience members, you have had that happen. You come to a new volunteer organization. You've got all these great ideas. And not only do you have great ideas, but you got the experience to back it up. You come in and you say this and you say that. Well, the head lady in charge, the head man in charge, they say there's something else. They want it some other way. You know that your way's better. So you're not poking anybody in the eye. You're not being mean to anybody. Y'all, I got blocked by the leader of an organization that I complimented for how they did something. But in their mind, oh no, I'm a challenge. And I'm like, I'm trying to give you props and spread awareness and get you more donations, and you got to block me. And so, people who are threatened, they will rally the forces against you, and you ain't done nothing but try to help. Now, I will admit that I have had that happen in my life a couple times. And sometimes I brought it on myself. Okay. We're not talking about those times here. We're not talking about the time where, you're mean and critical and people perceive you as putting them down. And so then they're not going to move ahead. We're talking about the times when you are just genuinely trying to help, and you're saying something that somebody else could say that wouldn't trigger all this response. Okay. But this is how they work. I mean, oh my goodness. The other people in the group don't see it. They don't see that the leader is a narcissist and that they're manipulating these other readers into ganging up on you. Ooh-wee. All right. So this is where those lesser narcissists will jump in. They'll come in and do some verbal abuse. And the mid-rangers will look at it as an opportunity to curry favor with the host and demonstrate their own credentials as a good person. Oh my goodness, y'all. He writes, the misguided victims, often newbies, are still very hurt by their experience, and their inexperience and current worldview causes them to lash out at someone who they have mistakenly seen as a narcissist. It is an easy mistake for them to make. After all, they are still learning, and the supposed guru of the host has declared this person to be a narcissist, so it must be true. There will be those who are more experienced and empathetic who will defend the reader, recognizing they are not a narcissist and that the person is entitled to express their opinion. They will be set on also, and therefore this often causes others to avoid the fray to begin with. Woo! Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And if you've had that happen, maybe you've had that happen at work. Maybe somebody at work is, your boss or somebody. I felt so bad. I had a boss in the military one time. I was so short that, like if I sat at my desk, you couldn't see me over the partition because I was so short, right? The partitions were like 4 feet high and I was a couple inches shorter than it. So if I sat at my desk, you didn't know I was there. And one time I heard our secretary, our boss's executive admin, being just screamed at by the boss. And she said, and Conway's not even here, and blah, 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 blah. And you're supposed to keep tabs on her. And so I stand up. I'm like, ma'am, can I help you? And she walked away. And it happened 2 other times. And the third time, because the first time something like that happens, you think, okay, well, they might be, they got some health issues. And I think this boss was dealing with some cancer, some skin cancer or something like that. I really don't remember the details, but they had some kind of health issue, so when you're in pain, you make dumb decisions and you make foolish mistakes and you're a little grouchy, and so this first time it happened, I thought, oh, okay, whatever. The second time it happened, I kind of stand up from my desk. Ma'am, do you need something? No, I'm done, and walks off. The third time, you know what I like to say, right? The first time it happens, it happened. The second time it happens, that's a coincidence. The third time it happens, now it's a trend. Now we got a trend line going in a certain direction. And I'm one of those people that when I see a trend line is not going the way I want it to go, I want to nip it in the bud as soon as possible. That's why you should not ask my opinion if you don't want it. Because if I think my opinion can help stop a bad trajectory, I'm going to tell you. If you give me an opening, I am learning to not tell you if you don't give me an opening. But if you ask me, I'm going to tell you. That's what people pay me to do. That's what I'm going to do. Right. And so this third time now I'm like, because I felt bad for the young lady who, she's sitting there listening to this screaming. And I'm like, what is the boss screaming about again? And then I hear my name and I'm like, I stand up. But this time I walk over to her desk. And I said, ma'am, can I help you? And I walk over to her desk and I don't, because she has one of those, the admin had one of those desks that you kind of, you could lean on. So she was leaning on the desk, but I came in and went right next to her like, okay, this is enough. And I felt so bad because I never heard her come scream at the executive admin again. But I found out later that what she was do is she would call her and have the woman go down to her office so she could scream to her about whatever. And that's not how we treat people. Well, because that happened, somebody else in the office was like, I know the boss is wrong. I know that you're a great person. I really liked you before I moved here, but I don't need the boss screaming at me. So we're not friends for this assignment. So, sometimes that happens and you have to recognize it for what it was. Okay. It says here, the host, having identified a supposed narcissist on the site, will not let the matter go. If the reader remains or is allowed to remain on the site, they will be repeatedly branded and subjected to passive-aggressive remarks. Even once gone or banished, they will be made mention of by the support forum fraud. The support forum fraud will also make repeated reference to their online attackers or their trolls in order to gain sympathy from readers. These supposed attackers remain vague and amorphous in identity because They often do not exist, but they are a perception of the support form fraud. Ooh, y'all. Okay, I'm going to skip down. This is a really powerful article. And I'm going to tell you, the reason I want you to read this, the reason I want you to go back to narcsite.com and put in the search box, support forum fraud. I want you to read this because so many of the things that he is listing here have been spot on for different organizations that I've been in. And the crazy thing about it is sometimes I've had this happen in the military, but other times I've had it happen, maybe not to me, but to somebody that I observed. And then once I see you act that way towards somebody, I'm not waiting around to find out if you're going to act that way towards me. Some people feel like as long as it's on them and they're the scapegoat and they're the one the boss doesn't like, I'm okay. But I'll tell you what, one of those ladies who didn't want to associate with me at the job where the boss would scream, she said, I thought if I just stayed away with you, I could get out of this unscathed, but then you left and then I became the scapegoat. That's how that works. So when I see that, when I see it, I'm out. And I'm not going to sit around and let you do that to me. And I'm not going to sit around and let you do that to somebody else. I already know the Lord has wired me for social injustice, to fight against people who do others wrong, who are helpless or powerless to fight back. And that's just the way the Lord wired me. But because he wired me that way, and because I know that every battle is not my battle, I have to remove myself when I sense a battle is coming, but the Lord has told me not to fight it. Because it's very hard for me to sit there and witness somebody being treated bad. And that's why it's one of our they're not around anymore, so don't even try to figure out who it was. But there was a ministry that we were looking for, kind of a watch care situation where I didn't have a Church of the Living God International with me. And when I saw how they fired somebody in a bad way, I was like, I'm out. Because leadership that would do that to somebody, that's a leadership problem. That's a leadership problem. That tells you something is wrong at the top. And the things that happen at the top, leadership attitudes at the top, roll downhill. And so I said, I'm out. And sure enough, a year later, they fired somebody else the same horrible way. I said, I don't care how biblically accurate you're preaching. Something ain't right in your heart. I don't try to figure out who it is, because I don't even know where those people are today. All right. But they weren't in CLGI, and I have no idea where they went after they left the ministry that I was fellowshipping with. In my travels, I fellowshipped with a lot of ministries. In fact, I still kind of miss the one when I was at Livermore Labs so much that I had found a church out there. They were a nice little Holy Ghost. Well, they weren't little, but they were a nice, big Holy Ghost filled church that believed in speaking in tongues and miracles and all the things. And I was so happy to find them. And I started becoming a part of their church. And then I'm going to tell you what the Lord did. I know this has nothing to do with support form fraud, so maybe I'll edit it out of the podcast. Maybe I won't. But when I got to there, I started getting involved. I started taking the Bible studies. I started volunteering in the community because I was flying out there like every other week. And so I was there at their church more than I was at my own home church, just like earlier in my career and my first military actual working assignment instead of school. I flew to DC so much, I was more a part of Power of Deliverance, Bishop Richardson's, which Bishop Richardson was the co-pastor, and now that's become Indian Head Worship Center. But I was a part of that church more than I was my own home church, So, but a lot of places that I've been to, and a lot of places that I have fellowship with, and a lot of organizations that I have volunteered with and poured my heart out with are led by narcissists. And you can see it because they treat people like this. People who are well-meaning, okay? People who are well-meaning, all right? All right, so let me see if I can scroll down here. And if I have to split this up, then, and you're listening to this as part of the podcast, if you're listening to this as part of the podcast, then wait a second. Something's wrong with my cut and paste here. Oh, I know what happened. Oops, I cut and pasted his article, but I lost the numbers. Okay, let me just look at it real quick. Okay. All right. And so these are things to look for. So if you see these behaviors that we've talked about today in a group that you're with, get on out of that group before you become the next victim or unwittingly harm somebody else by your support of the forum. Okay. All right. Let's see. We said that there. Okay. Okay, those will be there. Okay. There will be those who are more experienced. Oh, no, I already read that part. The host will engage. Okay, here we go. The host will engage in their repeated recollections of their own horrendous treatment at the hands of the narcissist. It will be like a daily sermon as they rail against this person with a zealous enthusiasm, which lasts far too long for that of a genuine victim. And I'm going to pause on that for just a quick second, because here's the thing about genuine victims of these narcissistic organizations or people. Generally speaking, the victim is someone who cares, who truly cares, someone who believes in second chances and believes in fairness and believes that, if you can just help somebody enough or love somebody enough, you can help them overcome the worst of traumas. That's not always true, unfortunately. There's some people who the trauma has seared certain parts of their brain, and the only thing that can heal it is the power of the Lord. And so that's not in his article, that's my commentary. But the thing about victims is victims want to see the perpetrator make a change. They want to see the person either get what's coming to them or realize the error of their ways and apologize and make a grand change for the better. And so it's not likely that a victim is going to continue feeling victimish all these years when somebody is pretending to make a change. And so they're not going to keep rehashing it because, yeah, okay, that person was wrong, but I've moved on to this next person that I love and I'm helping and I'm feeling good and I'm doing my thing, and time heals that wound. The spirit heals that wound. Okay. Not always. And I think it's one of the saddest things about, as I explore the websites that are healing people, helping people heal from narcissism. It really is sad to me that there's so many people like, well, my picker is just broken, so I'm not going to be able to ever find love again. Picker, P-I-C-K-E-R. Don't hear what I didn't say. I'm never going to be able to find love again. I'm never going to be able to be around people. So many people decided the only way to protect themselves is to be closed off. And I don't think that's what the Lord has for us. That's not the abundant life that the Lord has for us. When my Lord and Savior says in the Bible that he came that we might have life and that more abundantly, it's despite this sinful and fallen world that we have an abundant, joyful, and peaceful life. All right. I'm not laughing at y'all. I'm laughing because my foot is being snuggled by a little one. Okay, that's a little weird. Okay, well, we can talk after I'm done with my class. I'm not even halfway done yet. All right. Yeah, because I keep getting distracted. If you're sleepy, now's a good time to go in your room. If you're worried that you're going to fall asleep and not be able to wake up, yeah, go ahead and go in your room. I'll be in there as soon as I'm done. I promise.
So as soon as you hit stop stream.
Well, I might eat my dinner first. But hey, I need to get back on here. I don't want to lose audience again.
So
all right.
I'll see you next Monday.
Silly boy. All right.
See you Friday.
See you Friday. No, it won't be that long. Better not be, because StreamYard only gives me 2 hours and then they won't make shorts. And I like the shorts. Y'all tried those AI shorts? Oh my goodness, y'all. I tried ChatGPT for the first time. I know I'm late on it. I should have been on it. Everybody was telling me to be on it, but I need to get this doctorate done. So I'm just not trying to what? I'm not trying to learn a whole lot of new stuff right now, because I'm the kind of person that immerses myself into things and then I never get done what I need to get done. Okay, hey, I really need to finish this lesson. So I was talking while you made the noise of leaving. What's going on? Why you leave? Why not? Okay, well, you can stay here. I'll put my foot back. Okay, so now the host, having identified The host, having identified a supposed narcissist on the site, will not let the matter go. Oh, wait, no. I already said that. How did that scroll back? Okay. All right. The support forum fraud will dole out pity plays in order to gain sympathy and support of their readers. Whilst they repeatedly make mention of how badly they have been treated by the narcissist they were ensnared by, they will also make such comments as, I don't know why I bother doing this at times, and I am sick of not being appreciated. Some of you have no idea how much effort this takes. Waterworks. If the support forum fraud uses videos on the site or has a YouTube presence, then the crocodile's self-pitying tears will flow. Those whose tears are genuine either will not post material containing them, they do not want people to see or regard it as unprofessional, or if they do, it is clear that it's genuine. The support forum fraud's waterworks will be forced as they summon up the tears. They will switch them on and off like flicking of the switch. Once you know what to look for, you will see them. Now here's another one. There is a lack of originality in the material. The support forum fraud can only pose as the supposed empathetic supporter of the abused, but not through actual experience or emotional empathy, but through mimicry. Okay, so if you remember the article, not the article, if you remember the interview that we had about the different types of narcissists, many of these people are mimicking back to us. They are mirroring our behaviors, mirroring our feelings, and mimicking not just that's not going to come out right. It's not just narcissistic people that do that. You also see that in some people with developmental delays, such as autism and other areas that have developmental challenges. And in order to learn how to exist in a world that's very socially driven, learning how to mirror behavior and mimic behavior isn't always a bad thing. However, in this case, you'll find that as he continues to write, the material that is placed on the site will be drawn from elsewhere. Often, the lazier support forum fraud, coupled with their sense of entitlement and lack of accountability, will steal the work of others and either not credit it to the original author or pass it off as their own. And this is because they don't have their own heartfelt, empathetic experiences to post. So they have to go grab from someone else. Passive aggression. There will be passive aggressive comments made towards the commenters and readers. Again, this is not always obvious to newcomers, but those with experience will soon spot this indicator and become allied with points above. Will soon spot this indicator and allied with points above, the picture becomes clear. So when you've been in enough experience and you see these things in an organization, or you see these things in a support forum, or you see these things in whatever group that you're looking at joining or that you have joined, you have to see and open up your eyes to know that it is being run by a narcissist. Another thing to look for, sudden blocking. A reader will find themselves blocked from the site without any explanation or understanding as to what they have done. This passive-aggressive response will arise because the support forum fraud has perceived some behavior of the reader which is unacceptable and thus wounded, will lash out with cold fury by providing a silent treatment. Over time, the aggregate of these behaviors will demonstrate the true nature of the person operating the site, and you will then realize just who is really behind the supposed caring, empathetic persona. He writes, you may have found yourself on the receiving end of such behavior previously. Of course, you will not experience this behavior in the future because, and he says it's because you have nowhere else to go but his website. Okay. All right. So now that was our support forum fraud article. You can find that at narcsite.com. And again, the reason that I share that with you is because as a financial planner and financial coach, I see that a lot of these unresolved traumas and issues and hurts are at the bottom root cause of why we don't handle our money the way that we should. And so if we don't handle our money the way that we should, it's going to be very easy for others to manipulate us into giving them our money, into buying stuff that we don't need, into paying other people's ways to do things. Instead of empowering them, we actually end up enabling them. and all of these different things hamstring your future. Okay. And so thank you, sir. I truly appreciate that. Okay. Let's go ahead and switch gears now, because oh, you know what though? I do want to say one more thing on that. I think I said it earlier, but I just want to make sure, especially for the sake of the podcast. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, I've probably had to split this up into 2 parts. So I want to welcome you to the second part, because I see that lesson is almost at an hour. Okay. But we had some fun interruptions, specifically a 6'7" banana that joined us earlier. So but if you are listening on the audio through Spotify, iTunes, Google, is Google still doing podcast, or it's all on YouTube now? Whatever it is that Google's doing, Ghana, but I say Spotify, SoundCloud, all the things. If you're listening to me on any of those audio things, I encourage you to go out to YouTube and you can enjoy that and have fun watching the video as well. I also encourage you to be on live Thursdays so that you can enjoy in person. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to switch gears and we are going to answer some questions. And the first question, y'all, this question is near and dear to my heart because I have lived something like this. Hang on just a second. Now everybody's trying to figure out which one it was. Okay. The question is, can my landlord kick me out after 12 years and require me to fix normal wear and tear items? Okay. So I just signed a new lease and I'm already paying above market rents. So many other things like no heat have been broken for years. This is a new management company, but the landlord never cared in the past. Can't I sue them? Okay. First of all, I am not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV. I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so I am not giving you any legal advice. In fact, anytime I give anything that kind of remotely, kind of sort of somehow might appear to be financial, legal, or medical advice, please be advised that unless you are paying me and we're working in a one-on-one capacity, I am a financial planner, but I'm not your financial planner. And though I strive to be accurate in the financial advice that I give, I am not your financial advisor. I am not your financial coach. And the things that I share of a general educational nature. Your situation is situation dependent, is personality dependent, and it is resource dependent. And so I cannot give you specifics. If you ask me a question, I will use your question to give general financial guidelines that are suitable for many people in the population. Okay. But I am not a lawyer. So I don't know if you can sue these people. I would say the answer is probably yes, because anybody can sue anybody. Whether or not you could successfully achieve your goals in suing, that you want to contact a lawyer for. Okay. Now, I'm not going to show them this. I'm not going to show you guys these pictures. But this person did send me some pictures. And if you're watching me today, or if you're listening as part of the podcast, I'm going to be like, where's my flag? Where's my little flag? My little penalty flag? Because your pictures don't even show the whole room. Oh, there it is. Thanks. I'm going to throw the flag on this one because your pictures don't even show the whole room. So you're like, this isn't bad. This isn't bad. This isn't bad. And some of the pictures, they actually are kind of bad, y'all. I'm not going to show it to you because this is a unique house. And I know I've got people all over the world, but I don't need your last girlfriend or boyfriend watching this and be like, oh, I know who that is. Okay. So when I see pictures like that only shows parts of a room, and that's not like a whole video of the whole room, I'm like, okay. Because what I see, honestly, implies a whole lot of wear and tear. And yeah, you've been in the place. How long has it been? 12 years. You've been in the place for 12 years. Okay. There's going to be some things, there's going to be some things that are broken, like mini blinds. My house has wooden blinds, or it has the fake wooden. It's the plastic that looks like wood. Some of them are wood. I think the ones I've bought since I moved here aren't, because we had a cat for a while, and I was like, she's just gonna tear them up anyway. But you know, mini blinds, like you install mini blinds and then you look at them funny tomorrow and they got kinks and bends in them, right? Those little mini blinds that are like $5-6 a pop. Okay, that's gonna. I just as a real estate investor, I just plan on replacing those anyway, right? But you're saying you're telling me it's just normal wear and tear, but some of the stuff in these pictures is kind of weird. And if it's the landlord's fault, then the landlord should fix it. And if the landlord's not fixing it, if you've got a paper trail of the landlord not fixing it, and you might want to move. Okay? I'm not even, well, I'm going to sue, I'm going to stay there. Well, you said you're paying above market rent. So that's a whole nother thing. Okay. That's a whole nother question. Okay. Let me give my thoughts on the first things, the biggest things first. Okay. First of all, the strategic pictures of the rooms. If you want to have any kind of fighting chance of suing these people. And again, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't legally advise you, but I can tell you one thing. If you want to pass the common sense test, you got to show the whole room. You got to show that there is actual damage, that there's not damage, because I don't know if there is or isn't damage. I know that there's things that you said the landlord told you to fix, but I'm looking at these pictures like, what happened here? Like there's one spot that looks like a burn. It looks like something burned the wall. I'm like, what? Okay. And so I will say also that there is a trend amongst landlords to fix everything before the tenant moves out. And I learned this. I learned it from Mr. Landlord, Jeffrey Taylor. I have not implemented it. And the reason I haven't implemented it is because most of my properties that I still have, I'm trying to sell off all my East Coast stuff so that I can focus on where we are here in Texas. But the properties I still have that I have renters in as opposed to commercial properties, those properties take pets. And so me personally, I've never implemented this, but it's something that a lot of high quality landlords do who attract high quality tenants. Is every time that's time for the lease to renew, there's a 60-day, hey, is there anything in that needs to be fixed? Is there anything that we missed over the last year? And then they get it fixed. And then if the tenant doesn't renew their lease, then the tenant moves out and the apartment or the house is ready to roll. And so that's actually not a bad thing, you know? And if this person hadn't said that they just signed a lease, I would actually be thinking that maybe what was happening is the management company is trying to get them out so they can raise rents. But they just signed a lease and they're paying above market rents. So that doesn't quite make sense. And I'm not going to, I don't see, if you're watching me live, I encourage you to drop some updates in the comments, but I suspect they're not, because I'm looking at the comments on the different platforms and I'm looking at the number of people on, and I kind of know who's on. I think there's one person I don't know who's on. So if you're the person who sent me this question, then please drop some more details in, okay? But I don't see why they would want you out unless it's one of these things where it's a new management company and they re-signed your lease, but they hadn't really, like one person inspected and the other person did the lease, and they crossed paths. Because honestly, I ain't even gonna lie, unless you're paying me a couple $100 more and I feel like the rest of the property is being well taken care of, some of the stuff I saw on there, I wouldn't renew your lease. Ooh, I can't believe she said that. I did say that, because there's a lot of stuff that looks like you're not taking very good care of it. And yeah, you've been there 12 years, but you know what? My husband has been in this house for 12 years and it doesn't look like that. You know, and we haven't had to paint the walls. Now I want to paint the walls. I mean, some of them are green. Like, I'm like, who did that? But it doesn't look bad. So I just have left it, you know, until I'm ready to get new cabinets. I'm not gonna color the walls, because I want to make sure whatever color the walls is going to match the new cabinets and the granite countertops that I put in a year or two ago. So, you know, like I'm looking around like, okay, you make it sound like 12 years is such a long time that the whole house should be falling apart by now. Well, that's not how most people live. And if you're going to be in my property, even though you're paying rent and you're paying the mortgage down, it's still my investment and I'm still liable. So I need you to take care of my property. And I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm not saying this to be critical, but it is my podcast. And I need you to know that with the pictures that I saw, that I'm not showing everybody out of my concern and caring for you. But the pictures I saw, I wouldn't renew your lease. And I kind of wonder if there was a crossed path situation where the management signed a lease not realizing how bad it was because they were a new company. And so they're asking you to fix a few things or go find somewhere else where you're not paying such a high rent. Now, I kind of wonder if maybe they're not paying, if they're paying above market rents, because maybe they're on a 6-month lease or something like that. They're on a 3-month lease or something like that. But just to cover the legalities, okay? Landlords don't have to provide air conditioning. A landlord has to provide running water and plumbing for you to go to the bathroom. Okay, they gotta provide running water. It doesn't even, they don't technically have to provide hot water. So bad. But they do have to provide running water, okay? They have to provide heat. They don't have to provide air conditioning, but they do have to provide heat. And in some states, they specify the months that you have to provide heat, and then the other months you don't have to, okay? Landlords have to provide you a sink, okay? They have to provide you a sink with your water, all right? They can't just give you a spigot and not have a sink. They have to give you a sink, okay? They have to have a space for a fridge. They don't have to provide you a fridge, and they don't have to provide you a dishwasher. They don't have to provide you a hookup for a dishwasher. They don't have to provide you a garbage disposal. They have to provide you water, heat, and a sink, and an access space for you to put a fridge in if they don't already provide one. And then depending on your jurisdiction, a stove or an oven. Now, when I did my property in Baltimore, the inspector said you had to provide one. You had to provide either the stove or the fridge. And the tenant had a fridge that they really liked, so they brought in their own fridge, right? But I took out every other appliance that I did not have to, because if you have it in there, in some states you have to maintain it. Now, in some states you don't, but in some states you have to maintain it, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you I've got some more things to say on whether or not this is a case worthy of going to court. But I'm going to tell you why this was near and dear to my heart, because I had a lease end when I was living in Louisiana, and my friend was moving. And so my friend had offered to rent me their house. Big house, nice house, lots of space to fellowship. They had offered to rent me that house for $1,000 a month. And I was currently paying $1,100 a month for a newer house, but smaller. And so to me, that was very appealing. So I went to my landlords and I said, look, I don't want to move, and y'all are fixing to have a baby. I'd really like to just stay here, but right now I can move and I can only pay $1,000 a month instead of $1,100. And so would you be open to lowering the rent? So they lowered my rent. Yay me, right? Yay, you have not because you ask not. And that extra $100 really helped, because remember, when I moved to Louisiana the first time, I was $800 and something thousand in debt. So every little bit helps, And so they signed a lease. Then a month later, they put the house up for sale. And I had always lived in a place where when you sign a lease, if the landlord sells the house, the new buyer has to uphold the lease. Well, what I discovered in Louisiana is Louisiana don't work that way. Unless I had taken that lease and taken it down to the courthouse and filed it in the land records, they don't have to uphold that lease. And I went to try to get legal involved. I went and tried to get the base involved. And they were all like, we can't do anything about it because you did not record this document. If you had recorded the document, then we could make sure that they don't take you out of the lease. Well, the realtor had gotten frustrated with me because I I wasn't cleaning, and they weren't telling me when people were coming over. And y'all know, y'all know, maybe you don't know. Maybe you don't know today. Well, you're going to learn something that some of you probably don't want to know, but I'm going to tell you anyway. There's a lot of neighborhoods where if you have a Black person living in your house, it is harder to sell your house. You're not going to sell it for the same amount of money you would if it was somebody blonde-haired, blue-eyed in there. Unfortunately, that is still true in many jurisdictions. And so the realtor wanted me to clean up a little bit more, but I was a single military mom. So those dishes, they were just going to have to wait. And B, she wanted me to take all traces of me out of my own house. Well, no, I just signed a lease. I'm here for another year. I'm not planning on moving anytime soon. I don't even know why somebody else would buy the property when they just signed a lease a month ago for a year, right? Well, I didn't know in Louisiana, they don't have to uphold the lease because I never recorded the lease. And of course, the landlord didn't either. Why would they? Okay. And so that's why when I read this question initially, I got all in my feels because I literally had to move. I had to find somewhere else to move. And the landlord was like, but I thought you said the market rents were like $1,000. And I'm like, yeah, that was a month or two ago. Now all of those are gone. If you were going to do this to me, you should have told me a month or two ago. I could have gone into one of those. I could have had a big house with a big old pool. Anyway, it all worked out for the best. I ended up getting a little apartment. Well, if any of you watching remembers that little apartment I had with a pool, we had a little ground level apartment right next to the pool, this outside the gates at Barksdale. And one day I had this creepy guy come in my apartment, and I filed a complaint. Like, first of all, you're supposed to tell me when somebody's coming. Y'all supposed to give me a 24-hour notice. Second of all, this guy came in and was surprised I was home. So he wasn't planning on me being home. He wasn't answering any kind of call. He just walked in and he was creepy looking, like he gave you a bad feeling, and he beady, big bulging eyes. And I was just like, I don't know what it is with this dude. And I called the complaint in, and I never saw him again until I saw him on the front page of the paper. He had gone crazy and shot people up in that apartment complex. So let's just say I'm thankful that things worked out okay for me, because they did. But it was really kind of a doozy to have to move from a 3-bedroom house that I had just signed a lease on into a small 2-bedroom apartment with half the living space. So that's why when I first saw this, my heart went out into it, and I really wanted to be able to help this person. But the more I'm looking at it, I'm kind of like, you know what? If this is how you've let that house degrade, or in the last 12 years, well, I don't know what to say. Now, can they kick you out if you've got a lease? I don't think they can kick you out unless they can make a case that you have somehow violated the lease. And what's probably happening is they got a new management company come in, and that new management company wants to show some great success, and they honestly probably want to get out any troublemaking renters. And you said stuff has been broken for a long time, and you keep asking for repairs. I don't know why they don't just repair it, but you ain't done nothing about it. So that's the other thing that I want to mention on this one. It's one thing to go into all the complaints of all the things that they haven't done for you year after year after year. But what you did was you tolerated it year after year after year. Now, I'm not hating on you. I love you and I support you, and I want you to get through this. And I want you to get through this in a way that's beneficial for you. And if you've got children, it's beneficial for them. You cannot sit for year after year after year in something with it not being fixed and don't take action. You must take action, because what does that say? Silence is compliance, or what is that? You don't say anything, then you're basically saying it's okay. And I remember having an apartment where They didn't fix my shower. I couldn't take a shower. It was just a little dribble. And I don't know what happened, but something happened. They wouldn't fix the shower. And so I was showering at the base. But winter in Ohio gets pretty bad. And so finally I was like, look, I'm not paying rent until y'all fix this shower. And if you need me to move out, I'll move out. Well, the management company had just had a changeover. They weren't trying to lose any renters. They were trying to put more people in. So they fixed my stuff. But that was like 2 months of me asking them to fix it, not 5 years. Okay. So I don't know. There's just a lot about this question that I feel like I'm not being as nice to the person who posed the question as I want to be, because I really want to be here for you, but I just don't know what's going on behind the scenes. If I saw the pictures you sent me, I wouldn't try to break your lease, but there's probably a lot that I'm not seeing in the pictures that you sent me if what I'm seeing is what you wanted me to see to make your case, okay? Normal wear and tear can be hard to prove in court. And even if you could prove it, it kind of sounds like this is not a good environment for you. Now, if you are telling me that they are asking you to fix some stuff or they're going to evict you, then I hope that they are also saying they're going to fix some stuff. And I would put all of that in writing and submit it to them and say, because usually that's what you do within 3 days of renting something, you are supposed to be able to have submitted your list of things that are wrong with the property. In fact, I have an inspection checklist. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It's in one of my Aggie student things that I put together. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Let's see if it's on there, because you can download it. You can download a check sheet. This is what I would do. Okay, Aggie money tips. Okay, stop sneaky landlords with JJ's move-in checklist. Okay, I am going to drop this. This is from last year, but it's still good. Okay, I'm going to drop this in. Wait, if I click that link, what does that happen? Oh, really? I didn't put an info wall up to make you give me your email address first. Why did I do that? Maybe because it's written to college students and they're not gonna use their email even if they give it to me, Anyway, I'm dropping that in the chat for you. When you move into a place, one of the best ways to protect yourself is to fill out a form like this. And if they don't give you one, you can use mine, and you can actually fill it out and take it to the management company and be like, look, I just signed a list. Here's all the things that are already broken and already wrong. Now, if you have your original one from when you first moved in, that would be something you can look at to kind of compare and contrast. But if they're telling you blah, blah, blah is wrong and you need to fix it or they're going to evict, you should read your lease that you just signed and make sure that whatever it is that they're asking you to fix is within the legalities of your lease. If it's not, you don't technically have to worry about it, but I'm not a lawyer, so I can't legally officially tell you that. That's just my opinion. But if it's in the lease, then it's in the lease. We don't want to argue about something that's in the lease. We signed it. Hopefully you read it. Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm being mean again. I promise I'm not trying to be mean about this question, okay? I'm really not trying to be mean about this question, but I hope you will think of these things that I'm saying when you go to your next place, because I really kind of feel like whether or not you have a legal case on this, that unless there's some extenuating circumstance, why would you want to rent from these people? One time I rented a property from somebody who was just crazy. They were crazy and their real estate agent was crazy. They were two peas in a pod. And I thought, who cares? I just need a good place to stay. And I'm getting ready to have a baby and I don't have time to figure all this out. And so I rented. But I'm telling you, those people were crazy from the day I moved in to the day I moved out. And I finally had to get to a point where everything had to be in writing, because they would say one thing and then change it and then change it and then change it. It does not make sense that fight to stay in a place where the heat's not working and you're paying above market rent and you're getting no benefits. That doesn't make any sense. So I don't want you to do that. I want you to be somewhere that's peaceful and kind. And if you're finding that you maybe didn't take as good care of the place as you maybe should have, well, then take, there's plenty of YouTube University things out there to help you do some simple maintenance and repairs. But if it's stuff that needs to be done as according to the lease, hold that management company to task that, hey, these things need to be fixed. Okay, I've given you in the chat, I've given you some documentation on how to do it. I see that it didn't go to all of them, so I'm going to try to send it again. I know LinkedIn doesn't let me do the chats. It doesn't do the comments from here. So if you are on LinkedIn watching me today, or if you are listening to me as part of the podcast, go to the YouTube channel, Ladies of Wealth at JJ Knows the Way, and you'll be able to see that link and download it. And then when we make this into a podcast, hopefully I'll remember. Hopefully I'll remember to put the link in there, okay? And so that way you can do that as well, when the finished podcast version of it. Okay, next question. What time are we at? 1:24. Okay, hang on. Okay. All right, I'll do what do I want to do first? All right, today we're going to talk about a scam. It's not actually a scam, but there is a similar scam. So I'm going to talk to you about both, okay? Here's the question. So this one's online. Let me pull it up over here. We were at the mall and somebody walked up to my friend, put their phone by hers. It dinged and they said, "Thank you. We're afraid she got scammed. She locked her cards, changed passwords, stuff like that. What else should we do?" Ooh, excuse me. Your question is not boring. It's just late. I've been doing taxes the last couple of days because I foolishly didn't get them done in time. And and dissertation because this is my last semester to get this draft built. So I've been burning the midnight oil there. Okay. So first of all, good on her for taking the precautions, like changing the passwords and all those kinds of things. A lot of people don't take this kind of stuff seriously. And because they don't take it seriously, they don't protect themselves, or when they suspect that a fraud has occurred, they don't take action to nip it in the bud. So good on your friend for having the composure and the presence of mind to take care of all that. Now, second of all, this sounds like the TikTok prank, okay? I heard about it on Reddit, actually, with a guy who had his window rolled down, and somebody asked him, could they give him a 20? And he said no, and then they reached in with their phone towards his phone, and it dinged, and they said, fine, I'll just steal $100. And I mean, when I read that, I was already pretty sure it was fake because, I mean, who sits down in the middle of people with their window down? Like, I mean, even if you're in a safer rural area, hello, bugs, air conditioning. I'm not going to sit down with my window rolled down and allow you to reach your hand. Like, if you have enough space to reach your hand into my car, unless you're handing me my tea or my Chick-fil-A, that window is down way too far. So no, I'm not going to do that. But I mean, can somebody do that? A lot of the answer to that question is going to be no for the most part. I'm not going to say unequivocally yes, because scammers are always looking for a way to scam. Okay. But if they do that, it's not going through your Apple Pay or your Google Pay or anything like that, because there should be setups in order for the money to get to them, even if they have it. Where's my other phone? Oh, I don't have it in here, but I have another phone. And when they get close to each other, like let's pretend this checkbook is my phone. When they get close to each other, this one lights up like it's trying to Apple Pay. And so it lights up, it goes into something about the cards in them, or the Bluetooth or whatever it is. It thinks it's on a money taker. What do you call those? A portal? it thinks it's about to make a payment, like as if I was holding my phone up to make a payment. And I'll tell you what, there's so many technologies that I have just been like, oh my goodness, this is so annoying. But being able to put my Metro card, being able to put my tickets, being able to put all those kinds of things on my phone and not have to be reliant on carrying a big fat wallet. Oh, it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Okay. And they work to keep it secure. However, okay, you do have to worry about RFID scanners, okay? So while this has been a TikTok scam where people are pretending to steal, it's probably not a big deal if it's happened the way it was described to me. Pretty sure it was fake. 999 times out of 1,000. That's somebody trying to make a video for TikTok, okay? But the thing is, there is a very real scam that's been going out there for a while. And one of those, it's not really a scam, but it does scam you. And that's basically the fact that if a thief has a skimmer and you have an unprotected card, debit card, credit card, even some of the newer ID cards, they can come by you and just kind of get close enough and pick up the data from your card. That's why it's so important. If you have not updated your wallet in a while, it is time to update your wallet now, because the newer wallets out there have built in RFID protection, and they have it's almost like a Faraday cage for your wallet. A Faraday cage is a metal enclosure so that if electromagnetic information hits it, or like a lightning hits it, the lightning goes around but does not get inside. Okay. And so that's basically what these RFID sleeves do. And so you can get them at different trade shows. I'm actually getting ready to order some that have our Ladies of Wealth podcast logo on them, so that you can have our Ladies of Wealth podcast logo on them, so that you can protect your stuff if you don't have an updated wallet. But basically, you put your cards in that sleeve, and then they can run the skimmer past it, but the electromagnetic of the skimmer can't get through that protective barrier inside. It acts like a Faraday cage for your card. I know I am simplifying a whole lot of technology here, but hopefully you get the point. So if you haven't updated your wallet in a long time, it's time to do so. Okay. And if you really love your old wallet, get you one of those protection cards. It's kind of like they're just like a little sleeve, kind of like the things you put your key in at the hotel, right? Put your credit cards, your debit cards, your important IDs and things like that inside the sleeve to protect it. Okay. But thankfully for the person who asked, this was probably just a scam that they don't have to really worry about too much. I'll tell you what, there's some just horrendous scams going around. And the more I research about scams, I'm thinking we might have to make the scam discussion a weekly feature. Just like we used to have our Juice with JJ scams and things that make you go, on Saturdays. I think we might need to go back to that, because as people are getting desperate, they're getting desperate. And when people get desperate, two things happen. First of all, people who are desperate take desperate measures. And sometimes that means they are more willing to scam you. Also, they get more desperate and take desperate measures. That can also mean that something looks too good to be true. They're going to go after it anyway, because they're so desperate and they're so hungry and they don't have enough to make ends meet, and the prices keep going up. And so be aware, be aware, be aware. All right, I'm just going to take a quick little aside here to call up a website. Y'all know about the annual credit report website. It's annualcreditreport.com. Let me go ahead and pull it up. Might help if I spell annual correctly. Okay. The reason I'm going to show you this site is because, well, I'm not going to show it to you yet. So let me just go ahead and do the question, but I am going to get this set up. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm so sorry. Okay. Let me pull that window away. So that's its own window. Okay, that's going to become important later. Where are we at? 133. Okay, so our last question tonight, let me check the thing. Our last question tonight, and then if Dennis, if you're still on, we'll talk a little bit about perfection, but I am going to cut it off right before 2 hours because otherwise StreamYard won't generate the shorts for me. The broadcast has to be under 2 hours. But we'll catch you next time if I don't catch you this time, okay? Some of these questions have got a little bit more discussion than I anticipated, all right? All right, let me get this question here. Okay, I'm 24, just graduated from college, was home packing my stuff, and found out my mom has been opening credit cards in my name for 5 years. I checked my credit, and there's tons of debts that are not mine. How can I fix this without getting her in trouble? She's older, and I'm worried that confronting her will affect her health, and she definitely couldn't handle going to jail. She can't pay for these, and I can't either. Oh my goodness, my heart goes out to you. This is such a horrible, sticky situation. Okay? I just and there's going to be a demographic component to some of this. Okay? There's going to be a demographic component to some of this, and it's not going to be necessarily racial so much as poor versus wealthier, because a lot of times poorer people are less likely to want to make a waves, make a scene, file police report, and I still see that at the higher income levels, but the higher income levels don't really seem to care as much. Oh, this is just not a good day for me being nice and answering your questions with grace and style, because I just feel like I'm not being very gracious. But I don't get people who are making $300,000 a year who their mom has stolen their identity and they are like, I don't want to send her to jail. It's always the struggling single mom or the young student or the divorcee or the widow, the people that are really hard on financial times, and then they discover their family members doing this to them, and they don't want to file a police report. They don't want to press charges. They don't want to even address it. So basically what you're doing is you want me to wave a magic wand, poof, and make it all go away without any friction, any waves, any issues. And that is not real life. Because in real life, your mother has used your credit. She has stolen your identity and stolen thousands upon thousands of dollars from you. Okay? And so I can't just wave a magic wand here, okay? I can't make it go away and magically nobody's going to get their feelings hurt. I can't wave it all away. Somebody is going to be hurt, whether it's you, her, or both of y'all, okay? Because the reality is, if you do not press any charges, if you do not file a police report, if you do not hold her to task, then you become responsible for these debts. You're not responsible for these debts. But unless you take your mother to task, you have no proof that she did anything and that did it without your approval. See, it's one thing for you to go and say, I didn't tell her she could do that. But if you don't have a police report saying she says she didn't tell her mom that she could do that, the companies are not going to believe you. And they're going to hold you accountable to them. Okay? And so I want to make sure that I should have, well, I like reading the questions sometimes without prepping too much. I did see credit theft, so that's why I knew I want to talk to you guys about the annual credit report. But let me just kind of run through the options, okay? Because if you still love your mom and you want to make sure that Thanksgiving dinner tastes okay, and she doesn't know yet that you found out this, okay, then you're going to have to pay it. But if you're going to have to pay it, I'm going to recommend that you freeze your credit so she won't keep doing this, okay? If you don't want to pay this, you're going to have to report your mother. Or you're going to have to get your mother to agree to pay it back. Those are your options. You pay it. You don't pay it. If you don't pay it, you could choose not to get a police report on your mom, but then the creditors are going to come after you. Now, if you just bought a house and you're paid off, which this person said they were graduating from college, so I doubt they're in that position. But if you don't need to go get an apartment anytime soon, if you don't need to go buy a car or a house, I mean, I prefer you to pay cash for your cars anyway. But if you don't need to go get a house in the next 7 years, you don't need to do this or that and the other that they might check your credit report for in the next couple of years. Maybe you're not worried about your insurance rates going up because you don't drive a car. You take public transit and you're not worried about it for the next 5 to 7 years. Okay, but here's the problem with college students and recent graduates. They are not usually thinking how long-term financial issues follow them. So if your one option is to pay it, but if you're not going to pay it and you're not going to report your mother and you're not going to get her to pay it because she probably can't pay it. That's probably why she kept opening up new ones, right? But I would still try But if you don't want to mention it to her, you either pay it or you don't. But when the creditors come, if you just let them do what they do, then you may not be able to buy a house in 7 years, in 5 years. And if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. But I'm actually not okay with that, okay? So if it was me, I would like to say that I would file a police report on my mama. I would like to say that. You know why I don't think I would? Because I didn't do it on my ex-husband. I kept hoping that the Lord would restore him and bring him back to where he was, and I didn't want that to be hanging over his head. And I know a lot of people are very critical of me about the things that I have shared about him, but one thing I didn't share about him, or one thing that I didn't do, was I didn't go and make any permanent decisions that would alter his life permanently, because I had always hoped against hope that he would get things right. And one of those things that I did not do is I did not go file a police report. And so while I would like to say I would do all those things, I already have precedents that I probably wouldn't. Now, I did lock down my credit, and so I've frozen my credit. But if for some reason I thought it to go buy a house or something, and in that moment you took advantage of that situation, oh, I wouldn't have any problem filing a police report on you. Let me tell you that right now, okay? And so regardless of what you decide to do in this instant, I am going to recommend that you freeze your credit, because she has already shown that she'll keep opening up new stuff as many times as they'll let her. Okay. And then after that, you're going to have to decide if you can pay for this or if you want to make her pay for it. And if she's not going to pay for it, the only way you can possibly get out of having this affect your score is for you to pay it or you to have some documentation. And you can write a letter to the credit bureaus, but 9 times out of 10, 9,999 times out of 1,000, they're just not going to listen to your letter unless it comes with an authoritative behind it, like something from the police themselves. Okay. And so I would recommend that you take a look at those options. And if you find that you don't want to pay it, or you can't afford to pay it, and you don't want to hold your mom to task, I understand. I don't agree, but I understand, because I mean, you know, you want to go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas and things like that. And maybe you're just not ready yet at 24 to be able to fight that fight with your mom. You know, a lot of us aren't. So I'm not mad at you, but you are going to have to make a decision, and then you're going to have to abide by that decision. Okay. And if you're not going to pay for it, regardless, please freeze your credit. And when you get the chance and you feel secure enough, I would bring it up with your mom and be like, Mom, you just hamstrung my future, and I need you to help me dig out of this mess. If you can't afford to do it, if you can't afford to pay it, and you're not going to mention your mom, reach out to me. I'll give you a free coaching session. We'll outline you a plan that's specifically for you on how you can attack these debts and how you can keep these creditors from suing you. And usually we do that with a pro rata plan. In the meantime, or if you are not the person who sent this in, but you feel like you need some help in that area, you can go on my YouTube channel or my podcast and look up a pro rata plan. And that will teach you how to rack and stack your bills, who to pay first, what not to pay, and then how to engage with your creditors every month so that they don't sue you because you're not paying your minimum payments while you're trying to climb out of this mess. Okay. All right. Well, we're almost done for tonight. I don't know if he has any additional questions or details on this, but I know it's been a couple years now that I wrote a foreword for a poetry book. And I thought, I guess he's editing, or maybe he's making a new book. Maybe this is a second book. I thought the first one was already done. But he says here that he's a perfectionist to his own detriment. And I'm going to tell you right now, in the few minutes that I have left, I think most of the people on my forum, most of the people who are attracted to this podcast, who like what I have to teach, we all find ourselves in that similar boat where we want to be people of excellence and perfection. And especially when we're putting ourselves out there, we don't want to have errors or mistakes. Now, poetry is even an enhanced level, because now you're not just putting yourself out there, but you like put your heart on a platter for somebody to come through and put daggers in it and say, oh, we don't like this. Do I have my dagger pen? Oh, my ninja pen that my husband got me. It's in my other room. I have a ninja pen. It's so hilarious. When you do it, it goes in. It's funny, but it's like, twist it around. We don't like this or we don't like that. And heaven forbid you have a typo or some other little thing, right? And so perfection is the enemy of progress, in my opinion, because a lot of times we strive so hard for perfection, we never bring our ideas, our talents, our thoughts to the market. And if we don't put something into the marketplace, then we have nothing by which to gauge whether or not the marketplace accepts our ideas or our talents or our work. And the thing is, I like how Chris Robinson says it. He's president of the John Maxwell leadership training aspect of the John Maxwell company. And one of the things that he says is you have to get a result so that you can improve the result. And if we don't get a result, we can't work to improve the result. So let's say that Dennis takes the imperfect poetry book, let's say Dennis takes the imperfect poetry book and he gets it out to market. It's free to publish a Kindle book. It's free to market a Kindle book. It's free to put sales on the Kindle book. It's free to put out emails about your Kindle book. You tell me about your Kindle book, I'll pop it in one of my emails and I'll put a little affiliate code on it. So every time somebody buys one through my link, I know they bought one through my link and I get like 1 cent for referring it. Doesn't cost them any extra, but I like my little Amazon pennies. They do add up. What's really funny is I don't know why, but my Amazon has started to increase. So I just finished my taxes for last year and I looked at my Amazon royalties. I'm like, wow, that's like 2 cups of coffee. That wasn't a whole lot, right? And then I looked at my Amazon payments for this year and it's just going like that. So, I mean, I'm just very excited about that. I'm very happy about those. But rest assured, when I share an Amazon link with you, yeah, they throw me a couple pennies for sharing the link, but it doesn't increase anybody's cost and it doesn't make it any less royalties to the author. Okay. And so let's just say that he takes his book of poetry and he puts it out into the world. He puts it out there on Amazon, free to publish, free link, free to advertise. Use your own email or your social media platforms. You can go on Canva and make a free graphic to match it. And they sell premium templates, but you don't need a premium template. You can use your own stuff. You can use one of their nice templates and just use your own pictures, and then it's free. So all that I'm talking about is free, and you put it out into the marketplace, and then 1 or 2 or 3 things are going to happen. One, nobody's going to buy a book. Oh man, that would stink. But it didn't cost you anything. You already spent the time to write it. You might as well find out if people buy it and like it. 2, people could buy it and like it, and you could get a steady stream of friends and family supporting your book. And maybe once they've all bought one, maybe they're not going to buy another one, but you've at least got a cash infusion, and you know that people like you, and you can ask them to review the book, and then that might bring additional sales. Okay. The third thing that could happen is it takes off like wildfire. One person reads a poem and they really like it, and they want the next one, and they share it with a friend. They buy it as a little gift for somebody. They want you to publish it as a hard copy so that you can sign it and send it to them. Like it's not free to publish, like this, but like this book, to get a copy of this on Amazon, this book costs me about $4. Okay. And so when I do anthologies with my authors, I do mark it up because Amazon has to ship it to me, and then I have to ship it to you. Right. So I charge you for the shipping it to you, but I still got to cover the shipping to me. So that's in the price of the book. But this is like a $4 book. I sell this book for $20. I can sell it for $10 and I still made my money back. But this is a bigger book. A smaller book of poetry isn't going to cost $4. It might cost like $2, right? And then you sell it for $10, but you still have to order some, and Amazon's very reasonable on that. And you say, okay, well, I'll just take, next paycheck, I'll take $20 and I'll put this into Amazon, and I'll go from the Kindle version to the soft cover version, and I'll take $20, and instead of going to Pizza Hut or McDonald's, I will buy some books, and then I will go walk around and see if somebody wants to buy them at the next trade show. And I tell you what I'm gonna do for you, Dennis. I don't know if you can get to Atlanta the first week of November. I think it's the 5th through the 8th. Dr. George Fraser is having his Power Networking Conference, and I have a booth that I hardly ever work my booths because I'm so busy networking or sitting down one-on-one with people. But if you bring your book, if you bring a hard copy of your book, it doesn't have to be a hardback. It can just be a soft copy like this one. If you bring some copies of your book, I will let you come to my booth and sell them, and I will give you one of my booth passes so that you can come in and sell your book, and you won't even have to pay the $800 booth fee that it is to come in and sell your book. And I'll bet if you come in there and you bring your poetry and you maybe perform some of it, you talk to people, I'll bet you'll sell out of those books. I bet you will, because we're there to help support each other at the Power Networking Conference. Okay. So if you have something else like that, like if you have a book or you have some product like that that's aligned with what I'm doing, or if I've helped you in some way and you want to give me a testimonial and you want to come in and take a couple hours and sell something at the booth, and I'm not opposed to doing that. Now, I don't know how many tickets they're going to give me. I think it's only 2 tickets for the booth, but they'll also give me some for speaking. So, we'll see how that goes, or some good discounts or something, but we'll see what we can do to help you in there, because I'm here to help you succeed. Zig Ziglar said that if we help enough other people get what they want out of life, we can have anything we want out of life. And I have found that to be true. Oh man, what was his name? Ivan Meisner, who founded Business Networking International, BNI, he wrote it this way, that givers gain, right? And the Bible says to give and it shall be given to you. And so a lot has been given to me, and I'm not going to give you no money, and I'm not going to give you my organs, but I will give you my time, and I will give you my mentoring. Okay. Well, I think that's going to round us up for one evening. Y'all, I've enjoyed this time with you. I'm going to go get my little one in his real bed. I appreciate y'all humoring him. I'm trying to encourage him to get before the camera so that he can really blossom into who God has created him to be. And I appreciate y'all who or on the Ladies of Wealth podcast, and that, appreciate you helping me help him. Okay. And so with that, I'm going to say good night. Thank you for being here with us live. If you're listening to me on the podcast, we encourage you to join us Thursday night live. I'm JJ Conway. You can find me on social media at JJ Knows the Way. And the only reason I can say I know the way is because I know the one who is the way. And I hope you'll talk to me about him today. But right now I'm going to go get some sleep. So I probably need to change that for a Thursday night broadcast. Y'all take care and be blessed.